We are live. Peace, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Journey to Bliss. I am Ms. Bliss. We have our brother here this evening, Pernue, our other brother, Duke, and then we have our sister, Catherine Davis. And the topic tonight is regarding love in connection to relationships. I want to do my little commercial. Let's do the little commercial for the brother Shaka. We'll start with that. And then one more commercial for my tea, which is the Bliss Love Tea, which is assist you with becoming more compassionate about others and more loving and nurturing and caring and focusing on your empathy. So here we go.
Such a long, long time.
Pernue just said he just took some of the Bliss Love Tea, so maybe.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. So I took some Friday night, and I actually took some the rest of it on Saturday yesterday, and I can attest it. My heart is open. My heart is open. I feel very, very much in a heart space, a loving space, self-love space.
Exactly. Ashe. So we wanted to start off with pouring into the earth and the plants and with a little prayer. So Pernue and I have our plants here. This is mine. And
right.
Pernue, you want to start off with the words and the prayers?
Okay, so first I wanted to just speak on a little bit about what libations is and why we do it. For those who don't know, so libations is a way different. They pour libations to the ancestors. They pour libations to the deities, the Neteru, the angels, and essentially what it is you're remembering who you are. We are the sum of our ancestors. We are the composite of all the deities, all the Neteru, all the angels. And so when we pour libation to each of those entities, each of those principles, we are remembering who we are. Because out here in this world, they're telling us a different story about who we are. There's been a program that has been put into us that has told us a different story about who we are. So we need to have the right story. We need to really know who we are and to remember that and to infuse that thought into our thought patterns, to infuse those ideas into our thought patterns. So our libation is a ritual of remembering who we are. So different traditions do it different ways. So I'm going to start.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with the principles of man, as written in this book called "Awakening the Master Masculine" by Master Yao.
Yes.
Here, so there's four attributes of man, of the divine man, or the developed man. So I pour libations to the attributes of man, the archetypes of man. The warrior. The warrior is that who defends his family, his tribe, his nation. Those who cannot defend themselves. He stands before danger with his shield of truth, and his sword. For libations to the eagle. That part of us that looks forward, looks ahead, has that vision, that visionary aspect of our being that looks ahead, plans, and assesses, knows that it is king, and reassesses the situation, puts together timelines, and makes things happen in the world. For we are a creator. Pour libation to the healer, to return things that are dysfunctional to their functional, original blueprint. We know we have a lot of that type of work to do in our community. Pour libations to the hunter, that part of us that wants to go out there, that needs to go out there to go get it, to provide for our families, to provide for our nation, our tribe, to provide an economic system so that we can live in abundance and not in scarcity. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you so much, Pranu.
You're welcome.
I love that. I don't have my book, my feminine book, from Master Yao tonight, so we just gonna let that all balance itself out, and it'll be okay.
That's right. It's all good.
Because some of our brothers need that, so we're gonna send that prayers to our brothers, that good loving energy. So there you go. Greetings, Cynthia. How are you, my love? Good evening. Okay. So as I previously said, the topic this evening is love, which obviously is connected to the relationships that we have. And so I want to say, when you hear love, we automatically think about our lovers, our husbands, our wives. I want to also express that we have relationships with our jobs, our bosses, our coworkers, our relationships with our parents and our siblings and with our friends. And to some extent, there's just some sort of level of love. This is why your heart is broken when you leave your job. If you get into a situation with your parents, you feel hurt. If you lose a parent, you feel hurt. Same thing with your siblings, best friends included. So to some extent, our heart is involved on some level. So I want to start with what we call the blueprint of relationships and a weak sense of self. So your blueprint is introduced to you via your parents when you're young. So when you are young, your parents may have strong expectations. So they may project who you should be or what you should be like in regarding relationships with other individuals and how you should act, how you should carry yourself, how you present yourself. And your parents are genuinely, well, most of them, they're doing this because it's something that was taught to them, or maybe they learned it when they were growing up. Maybe they learned it in a religious institution somewhere. Maybe they learned it in school on how to handle relationships and how to be with you. So they basically is teaching you the same thing that was taught to them or that they learned. So this form of blueprint of how you believe your adult relationship should be could actually cause you to lose your sense of self in an adult relationship with someone else, because you learned this when you were a child and it was sort of embedded in you and projected on you. So if it's a negative way, it allow you to, or the other person in your adult relationship to kind of live your life for you. And so now you learn this as a child. And so now you're an adult and you find yourself in this relationship where you are allowing this individual to project on you how you should be, how you should act, how you should deal with your emotions in life and what you should do. And so what you're doing is you're permitting them the power to project their ideas about how you should show up and what you should do and what you should want. And this could be unknowingly and unwillingly, and you're not even aware of it. Maybe years later, you may be aware of it. But in the beginning, most of us don't even know it or can even acknowledge it. So the problem with this type of relationship when you're an adult is that you lack individuality. you lose a sense of safeness. And then you begin to not set boundaries, and that's not healthy because the person in that relationship doesn't respect you when you set boundaries. And this is including coworkers, your bosses, your parents, your siblings, your lovers, your friends. You have to learn how to set boundaries and be that individual, be genuine and truly for who you are, or you will lose your identity. So when you have like a weak sense of self, then you can also dive into the idea of you're responsible for someone else's feelings. So when you do set those boundaries and you're like, no, this is not going to happen, they become emotional, or they become angry or hostile, and they're projecting their emotions on you and their feelings on you, saying, oh, you're responsible, you caused this hurt, look at what you did and look at what you're doing to me. And they begin to play the guilt trip or make you feel emotional about it. So at that point, your independence is becoming stifled, and you can't disagree with them. You don't have the resilience now to set the boundaries because you've allowed this type of relationship to go on for so long. And it could have been for a year or 10 years. The longer you allow it to happen, the more difficult it's going to be to set boundaries with these type of people that you're dealing with. So I wanted to start off with that blueprint that's projecting on us as children and how it goes into our adulthood. So you can go ahead. Any one of you.
Well, that was a lot you just said right there. I heard aspects of me, of things that I've done. I have had to learn how to set boundaries, and like you did say, a lot of this you learn at home, and so how you related to your parents, and how you were taught to relate to your siblings. You take that into the world, and you take that into your relationships, and you realize, maybe everything that I learned at home is not enough. Things aren't working the way they need to work. You see, because when you're in a household, when you're raised in a house, you adapt to that family dynamic. No matter how dysfunctional it is, you adapt to it, and you will learn to live within that dysfunctional dynamic. But then we take that dysfunctional dynamic out into the world, and then it clashes with other people's dysfunctional dynamics, or actually find your place in a similar family dynamic. So if you were someone in the family who always had to yield, who always had to, like you said, have a lost sense of self, then you be someone who will be the person that said, oh, I can take advantage of this person. And so now you have this relationship. So now you're back at home. Functional type of situation that you were at home. And then you realize that, hey, this will not sustain in the long term. It's not going to sustain in the areas of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. 1000%. And the reason I could speak on it is, like you said, I have been in that situation before, and I've played both sides of the role, because over time, you're in different relationships. And so sometimes you can play the victim. Sometimes you can play the villain, and it depends on how that person projects you, regarding those particular situations, because everyone has a different perspective. So, yeah.
Yes, you're right. And sometimes we can play the victim one day and the villain the next day. It flip-flops.
Yes, exactly. So do you guys want to, Catherine and Duke?
Yeah, one of the things I believe that a lot of the stuff is in our DNA, and we get it from our parents. Whatever my mother went through, our mother went through, our father went through, is a part of our DNA. The way they saw life, the way they lived life, and then they projected on their children. And so that's where for me, That's where the foundation begins. After that foundation has developed into a narrative, then we have to, as adults, find our way into this world. But as you know, as above, so below, we are obligated to dig in our, dig down in our history and learn about our parents. Why is my mother this way? Why is my father this way? Why am I feeling this way? I had to reprogram my son because I knew what what I stepped into. So I had to literally understand it, think it through, and make sure that I broke that chain and to help him further along with confidence, help him further along with understanding, because this stuff is deep and is a very threads of our DNA. We don't know why, you'll see people growing up in a project, right? And it becomes a revolving door, although they know that they don't want to be there. Why isn't the understanding, okay, we're going to break this whatever you want to call it, we got to break it. So it starts out with knowing oneself and understanding the cosmos, this universe, and try to break that chain that we're in, and find a higher ground, higher ground of truth, who we are. If we hold on to the same pattern that our parents went through, and our parents went through, a great grandfather went through the slavery. They've been there already. Now we're on the other side of it. We're seeing a lot of, I can do this. I am. And so it takes a minute to get to the stage I am, and an understanding that the essence of love is power. Once we understand that essence of love, it becomes power. We can do all things through that essence of power. And that essence is understanding everything and breaking the chains that we were linked to. I'll turn it over to Catherine.
Okay. Well, I tend to view things energetically. So, from my perspective, when I think of love being kind of a dimensional word or a dimensional part of our reality, in the sense that there's, the family love, there's romantic love, there's love of humanity. But also, I think at various levels of our own resonance and vibration, love is the faculty that can help us to expand ourselves and evolve beyond what we might have been handed when we were born, whatever circumstances those were, that we can work with love. That vibration for me represents the vibration of healing. So when I'm doing energy work with people, sometimes I feel like there's a love being exchanged. So I think that we can, if we begin to understand love as having so much diversity within it, we can begin to identify what may be going on for us personally. Like, I had a conversation with a good friend, and we ended up in a little bit of a, argument, tit for tat, and it was completely based on misunderstanding.
Mhm.
Where you say something to someone that seems rather innocent, but maybe that person in their life might have had been accused of something, maybe as a child, so they have a trigger or a tendency to feel blamed or accused in circumstances that don't call for that. because of the habitual behavior. So from my vantage point, in a situation like that, this is a person I care about. I can understand that love can transcend that kind of misunderstanding or mishap. Even if it isn't resolved, you can let it go, and you can use love as a tool to navigate different situations in your relationship and in your life. But ultimately, I feel that it's really important that we learn to love ourselves, because if you don't love yourself, you can't really love the person fully. It means that there's some kind of dependency there. There's some kind of um, maybe there's something missing from it.
Mhm.
And the thing that's missing is the one, you. In not loving yourself, you can't be 100% present. So I think love is very expansive, and maybe it should have many different names. I remember reading that in the Inuit people in Alaska, we refer to them as Eskimos, but they like Inuit. That's their real name. They have like dozens of words for one thing, so they might have 10 to 20 words to describe snow,
Mhm.
because that's in their environment, and there's so many different variations of it. And I
Mhm.
think that if we can begin to understand love as being a present resource and life energy, something that we couldn't have been created without, that we can begin to look at it more expansively and not just as a personal fulfillment in a relationship, but make it about the quality of those relationships. And to me, that's where love comes in the most.
Yeah, I agree with you 1000%. Like, you
Her
know,
as well.
yes, so family, I'm fasting this week. So shout out to Dr. Love. I am doing his fast this week. So in the process of going through this fast, emotions can kick up. So a lot of people, they're on their journey and they may be fasting and they think, well, wait a minute, like fasting is about not eating, and just maybe doing a 1 or 2 day fast and you're just drinking liquids or you're just doing water or whatever. Let me tell you, it's a lot involved in fasting that could trigger you, because your body is going through this healing process, and that includes your heart, all of your chakras and your organs and everything, and it's going through a whole change. So this is in connection to love also. So I'm enjoying this, and I want to say shout out to Duke and Pernue for working with their sons, because we have way too many young brothers out here that fathers or uncles or grandparents, grandfathers, are not willing to take that step to say, hey, I was wrong. We need to correct this. And I'm learning too. And so we're going to work together moving forward on this. So I want to say shout out to you both. I want to also say shout out to Catherine for having that friend and recognizing that, you know what, we could trigger each other sometimes, because I myself, I have done that. And I also have been triggered. So just acknowledging and recognizing what role you played in that whole dynamic and that whole situation.
Yeah, so I kind of want to chime in with what Duke was saying, and just give it like a little experience with me. So about 10 or maybe 12 years ago, my marriage ended, and it took me a while to. I got to the point where I was like, something's really not. Something's wrong in my life. The things that I thought should work didn't work. The interactions I'm having aren't aren't giving me the results that I really want in life. And so that actually led me to actually go to Peru. And that's when I actually did my healing journey started. And to your point, to your point, Duke, going there actually uncovered ancestral memories. it uncovered childhood memories, but it also uncovered ancestral memories. Memories of my father's family, memories of how my father was raised. I wasn't there when he was raised, but even those things came because all those things are in our DNA, are in what you call the epigenome, our epigenetics. Our epigenetics is that we have a genetic code that can allow us to function in certain ways, but it is somewhat malleable. So, for instance, if you look at a beehive, you have a queen bee and you have the worker bees. They both have the exact same DNA. They're identically clones. So why are they different? Why are these same set of genes expressed differently? Well, when the colony of bees need a queen bee, royal jelly, as opposed to honey, that royal jelly activates certain genes to make that pupa a queen bee as opposed to a worker bee. Same is with us. We have different things activated for better or for worse, depending on how our parents were raised, how our grandparents, all of those experiences are in the epigenetics. Epigenetics. The epigenetics decides which parts of our gene expression is expressed and what part of our genes are not expressed. So I 100% agree with you, Duke, that yes, our family lineage is very important. But just as important is the knowledge that we can change it and we can break it. Like you said, you're working with your sons.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working on myself and working with my sons. I'm realizing, hey, wow, now that I'm over 50, 55, I have to work on myself and my children. Luckily, they have the advantage now that I can help them. They're in their most of my children are in their early 20s. So they're at an advantage. They won't have to go through what I went through and bump into as many walls, I hope. And so, yeah, my children, they witnessed some of the dysfunction in the family. They witnessed some of the mistakes their parents made. They witnessed that because we all make mistakes. Mm-hmm. At least now they have a parent that says, hey, yeah, I made these type of mistakes. And they see me working on myself. And that transforms them, as opposed to me just saying, yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I messed up, so you don't do that. No, it's like, no, I messed up. I'm making changes to my life. I'm making a transformation to my life. As they see that transformation, they transform. And I don't even have to tell them.
Yes. Because they're in observation mode. Yeah. Yes. So I think that's a beautiful thing. And when they're young, they're more receptive to what they're observing, as opposed to you waiting until they're 30, 40 years old, and then you got to try to backtrack and fix it, but it's already embedded in them. It's already like down in that DNA.
What's so funny is that going to the doctor's office, and the doctor would say to you, do you remember what your parents have, what kind of sickness they had, what they went to, not letting us know that tied to their DNA like that, whatever they chronically went through in terms of what the DNA, it may back to our gene, which more than likely it comes back to our gene. And so that's one of the important aspects that some of us don't realize, that is, it goes beyond our spectrum. It goes deep into the cosmos, and we are connected, whether we like it or not. We are connected. Mm-hmm. So as we stay connected, and as we break some chains that needs to be broken, we at least for me, I found out that love is very is paramount, because with love we can do anything and all things through through our DNA, through our lineage, because the next generation that went through the generation that went through Martin Luther King, I have a dream, they were being slaughtered. This generation that's here now, they're not going through that in that matter, and then they're not going to take it. Somehow, some way, that was broken. It was like, no, we're not that. We're not doing that. I'm not Martin Luther King. I'm this. I'm that. And so there comes a point that we step up to the plate. We teach our offsprings, and we get into that, that nitty gritty, that yes, you know, we can and we are and we must. But there has to be we have to be disciplined
Mm-hmm.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be fervent to do it, because we're looking at the next leaders of this world,
Mm-hmm.
right? The ones that's going to lead this world. And so if they're going to lead it, then we have to give them the information to parlay that to go forward, to move forward. If we don't, then all they will know is the past. And as we, one thing that I got from the cosmos, from the Most High, that I can be a victim or I can be a creator. Which one do I want, basically? And as a creator, you can't be a victim, and you can't have. I mean, you can be a victim, but you can't have that manifestation in your life walking with that. You can't be walking. Woe is me. I am. Look what my parents went through. No, we are creators. That's like we push that button to put the show on the air, and it says creator. You are that. We are the creators. And if we walk in victimhood, then we can't walk in creation to be a creator. And so that, for me, moving forward, is letting my children know, look, hey, yes, this is where we came from. This is who we were, but this is where we're going. And please, you can use me as an example, but you need to move this forward. And so, yes, we are creators. We are those ones that we've been waiting for. But I turn it over to Catherine.
Well, yeah, I think this is all really wonderful stuff. And you bring in a lot of points when you talk about the epigenetics and bringing in our ancestry. And maybe a part of what we can do in this journey towards being love or finding love is to, rather than feel contentious or feel bad or blame ourselves or blame others, we can begin to expand that understanding that we're acting out in ways that we never thought of, because it's not even coming from ourselves or even our life experience. And if we can hold on to that understanding, it gives a lot more room to being able to work through differences or challenges that might arise in our relationships. Because when you're in a relationship, it's not just two people, it's two people plus two, their parents and grandparents and great grandparents.
Sure.
And so if we just walk with that understanding, it might make it easier for us to find workable solutions. If we understand that people are not blaming us, people are not judging us, but we're living according to something that's arising out of the past, fears that people may have been very real to our parents and great grandparents. There were dangers they faced, that our fears, though, are based on that and not our current situation. So I think that's a very valuable tool for helping to heal and navigate our relationships, if we can remember to think of that during those tough times.
Mm-hmm. Ashe, I agree with you. Yes. I want to say welcome to our sister Shonda Lewis from Senegal, Africa. Welcome, welcome. Peace and blessings, my sister. So I want to kind of veggie back off what the brother Duke mentioned about being disciplined. And discipline requires a way that you respond in relationships in regards to certain things that may activate within you or that could trigger you. So let's say you're in a relationship and you get into a disagreement or you get into an argument. And for me, I think we should venture on observing how that person treats you when you're arguing or when you're not getting along at that moment. So you might want to look at, are they mean to you? Are they disrespectful to you? Are they belittling you or yelling at you? Are they doing something where they have the ability to manipulate your feelings and emotions? If you're a woman and you're in a relationship with a man and you know he may be a little bit on the jealous side, are you playing his emotions against another man? So, for example, at times, I will admit, women can be very tricky. It could be something very subtle, like you are having dinner and your homeboy comes over. And normally, when she prepares a plate, she prepares your plate first. When your homeboy comes over, she prepares his plate first. Now, your homeboy may not even notice it. He just there, he hungry, he ready to eat. But she knows exactly what she's doing. And so it's these little things that she will do that could sort of trigger you, because women are very good at playing these little games that can kind of just like dig at you a little bit. And the same thing with men. They may do things that could trigger you. So we both are playing a role in this little game. So it could be something like a man telling you, "Oh, you don't get along with women, and you shouldn't be around this one," or things like that. And if it feels okay with treating you badly or putting you down, is it okay with crossing and breaking those type of boundaries? Because at that point, if we're arguing or not speaking to one another, where she does these little things where she's withholding the vagina from you, and we all probably know exactly what I'm talking about, because she's punishing you. And this is another thing that we do to one another. And we could be arguing for 1 day, 2 days, 3, and it can go on and on and on. And it's even where you're arguing with your parents, you're arguing with your siblings, you're arguing with your coworkers, or you're angry at your boss. So you may be a little bit rebellious and you're not doing those projects on time, or you're not doing them in a fashionable, presentable matter, because you're angry and you're mad, and you maybe haven't learned the ability to truly express what's going on within you while you're dealing with that emotion of anger, because anger is an emotion, and it's only going to get worse as you carry on. And if you're dealing with someone who's expressing that anger towards you, that will get worse because you've never corrected it. And so you have this relationship or this friendship or situationship where you end up with someone for a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years, and you never correct it. So this could become a big issue, because these are warning signs. So I want to say, when you're dealing with someone who's doing these things and playing these type of games, and then you end up making an excuse for the bad behavior. So a person who's genuinely kind and concerned about your well-being and the value of your relationship and your worth, they're going to encourage you to do better if you're the one that's acting up. Because let's be clear, all of us ain't ever been angels all of our lives. Sometimes we have been, like I said, playing that role of the villain. So that person, they'll support you on your journey, and at some point they're going to share their feelings and their emotions about how you might have hurt them or how you might have triggered them, and they will be communicating with you with love and empathy. And so they may even, depending on the person, they may be like, you know what, I need to take a break from you before I even start talking to you. I maybe need to go for a walk or whatever. But ultimately, this type of person truly loves you and respects you, and they really want to keep that bond that you have built together and keep it strong. And they're interested in strengthening the connection, and they ultimately want to be gentle with you. So that person is just going to be like, you know what? I adore you, I love what you, and you need healing, and so I'm going to take a break. And you should allow them that little bit of time that they may need, and then come back. And if you're willing to work through that situation or through that relationship or that job or the family member or your lover, then yeah, you should probably explore that possibility if you're willing to sit down and be mature about the situation. Because in all honesty, a lot of times when we're arguing, we become immature and we do, spiteful things and mean things to one another. So if you want to veggie back off of that, Pernell.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, that I have memories of those type of situations in my life, where I've had to take a break, but that person is not receptive to hearing you. So that person might be triggered. Where even if you come to them in the most, hey, I love you, but I don't like what you did. What you did hurt me. That person can still feel like you've attacked them. And that's because of past relationships. That person may have had a past of conflict. Mm-hmm. And so now they don't know how to resolve things in a way that is non-conflictual. Mm-hmm. And so now, if that happens, that happened to me once. So then once that energy came at me, so, I had taken a walk, I had taken a deep breath, but once that energy came at me, then, eventually I went there, I went to a point where, okay, I'm being attacked now. And so it's like, okay, what do you do then? So I had to take a break, mm-hmm. And I can really see how I'm the person that really, I've been a person that would avoid conflict. Mm. So then eventually, if I do speak on something, it's going to take a lot for me to speak on it. Not as much as I used to. I don't let things linger for that long anymore. I'm going to address it that day. Yeah. But before I might not address it for weeks or what have you.
Wow.
But now I address it. I address it within a few hours or something like that. Mm-hmm. Some people will try to put you in situations, so that you never want to address it, because it's like, oh, if I address it, there's going to be an argument, and the argument is not going to we're not even going to come to a place of peace with this argument. And so why even bring it up? And so then once you get into that dynamic, then starts to creep in. Resentment creeps in, and then a feeling of the connection is gone then.
Yeah.
And so you're just kind of going through the motions. You're going through the motion. Okay, we're with each other. I'm walking on eggshells.
Yes.
And that's not a healthy relationship.
You're right.
So there's a lot of in there. The past relationships are like, not only is it our family members, but it's past relationships that affect how we come into relationships. And so for me, I have to be cognizant not to project past relationships or even relationships with family members into the relationship that I currently have. So for instance, if someone has a relationship where they've had, even within their family member, where they've had contentious relationships with the members of the opposite sex in their family. So a daughter with her father, or maybe the father wasn't there, or the son with the mother, then they're going to go into that relationship with that archetype, that dysfunctional archetype of their mate based off of the people in their family. So once you go into that relationship with that dysfunctional idea, you're going to project that onto that other person. So that person, I mean, they may have that. You're gonna either project it onto the other person, or you're gonna attract that type of person into your space. We have to realize we have the ability to project our thoughts into reality. And we have the ability to attract what we need and what we want. And once we do that, our relationships are going to improve. We're going to attract the relationship for us. And even for me, I think I have attracted good relationships for me, at least learning relationships where they have taught me things about myself so that I can move forward and be a better person in the next relationship.
Yes, yes, yes. Becoming a better person, ultimately.
So let me chime in on that for a second. One of the things that Catherine said, which is paramount, is loving oneself. And as one loves oneself, which is key, it's paramount, that you're able to deal with that relationship that's opposing you, or deal with the person that you're in a relationship with. Because if you continue to, it has happened to me where you just put it on the back burner and you address it when it's a better time, or you don't address it, then it just festers. It's like you leave a pot of water on the stove that's boiling.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things a friend of mine said to me, he said to me, he came to me when he was having problems. He said, Duke, my wife said that she's not in love with me, but she loves me. Right. So there is a bridge in love and love. So for me, I was explaining to him that when she said that to you, she means to tell you that if you need her, she'll be there for you. If you need to go to the hospital, if you need to, whatever you need, if you need something that I can provide, I'll do that for you, but I'm not in love with you. That to me is very deep, because sometimes we don't understand there's two different meanings between when a woman says she's loves you and when a woman says she's in love with you. For me, if it's in love, she'll walk from, I'm just saying this as a story, she'll walk from, or let's say I am in love, I'll walk from New York to Alaska because I have to make sure that I have to get to her, right? And so that in love is so profound, it's so deep, and it digs deep, into the structure. It's like a mother telling a child, because that mother nurtures that child until the child gets bigger. She's in love with that child. She'll fight for that child. She'll do whatever she has to do to make sure that child eats. Don't mess with a mother's child. Do not, because that's in love. When a person does love, there's a certain end point. There's a certain point where it ends. They have a demarker on that. And so the in love in a relationship, for me, I think both parties have to be an in love relationship, where that you'll go beyond your needs. It's not, I grew up in the era, 50-50. It's no 50-50 in a relationship. It's 100 and 100 in a relationship, not 50-50. And so, I'm going to pay half the rent, you pay half of this. No, it's 100. Whatever you come to the table with is all 100. And so that's what in love does. In love makes sure that you take care of those who are around you. In love makes sure that you speak highly of that person that's around you. You don't make their relatives or the opposite family that they belong to speak negative of your spouse, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Wow.
because you can get in a relationship where you have in-laws, they speak negatively about
Ooh,
your your spouse, and then
yes.
you know there's no protection because if
Yes.
it's not going
Yeah.
to protect you, then you're prey to the other people. You're prey to the family. If I'm not going to protect her, she's prey to my family. So in love corrects all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And love is what God talks about. The Most High God talks about his love towards his children. And when we understand that the God that's within us is all about love. And so how can I do something and envy my brother or my sister? I can't expect to prosper because I'm going with the energy of love. How can we build something? Because love is what builds everything. And it's the foundation of this world is love. And so the in love, for me, I don't care if this woman has zero. She could have nothing. I'm in love with her. She has everything. I'm not looking for her to do this or do that. If she brings something to the table, is great. If she doesn't, it's fine with me. You know, because sometimes men marry or women marry for, oh, let me see what you have in your bank account. What do you have? What can you give me? You're not in love. That's not in love. That's just loving somebody for something that they can provide for. And
Is that a high value relationship or a high value man?
can, if you're looking for someone, if you're looking for someone to bring something to your table, that that becomes a high value person. Oh, you got to bring me. Let me see what you got before
Mm,
I let go what I have. It's not
mm,
about if you it's in the cosmos. It doesn't work that way. There's no money in the cosmos. There's
mm.
no money. It's all about energy. It's all about energy. What do you have? And if you have the energy of in love, you got it. I can cash that. You think they're changing dollar bills in the cosmos? No, they're changing the love. Anyway, I'll
Okay.
regress and free. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Pranav.
Okay. So I wanted to make some I guess maybe some clarifying points or some questions about that. Um, because oftentimes when we're in trauma or we've been traumatized, we fall in love with the wrong things or we're attracted to the wrong things. So
Mhm,
people are attracted to people of low character. They're attracted to abusive relationships and they'll say they're in love with that person. And maybe that is true, but they don't love themselves first. If you don't know what is good, and you're not gonna you're gonna be attracted to the wrong things. It's not so it's not just about okay. I'm not advocating for okay, has to make a certain amount of money or anything like that, but to look for character, and the person has a type of character that's high value character, then everything else should fall in place, and then you can decide to give your heart to that person. But I think in the Black community, and even in the large community, we do things opposite.
mhm,
It quote unquote fall in love first, and then try to change that person
mhm.
to make them a person of better character.
Yes.
Why can't you be like so and so? Why can't you be like so and so? But that's not who we pick. And other person, but that person didn't want that person. So I think the whole idea of self-love,
There you go.
and I think that has to be taught. Has to be taught. Self-love and self-respect, because if you love yourself and you respect yourself, you're going to look for the proper things before you give your heart. And the proper
Excellent.
things doesn't mean you're a millionaire. It doesn't
No.
mean you're making 300,000. That's not necessarily the proper things. The proper things is, does this person respect me? Does this person value me? Does this person respect themselves? Does this person align with my viewpoint if we're going to raise children? Though, will this person be a good mother or father? If we start respecting ourselves enough to know that, then I think we'll make better choices. Oftentimes we making these choices out of pain. Mm-hmm. So we want our mate to be our entertainment. I'm bored, so you have to entertain me. But if you're bored, actually boredom is a symptom of not being comfortable being with yourself, not being comfortable being alone, not actually loving yourself enough to just sit there and be like, I can be by myself. So if we're not healed, so I guess I can make the point, if we're not healed, or to the extent that we're healed, we are going to make better choices in love. And to the extent that we're not healed, we're going to make worse choices when it comes to these romantic relationships, or like you said, any other type of relationship, as far as drawing boundaries, accepting things, like you said, even at work. If we're healed, we're gonna track things, have the proper boundaries, have the right expectations of others, and be able to walk away from something if it does not fit. If it does not fit ourselves, our being.
I just want to chime in for 1 second. I'm going to let you just want to say something because you said something which is attraction, all right? And so we are all energy, right? And we vibrate on a certain level. And so whatever your vibration is, that's what you're attracting, right? And as you know that as we walk in self-love, loving oneself, then you're actually attracting that same to you. And so, because we can be in a relationship with, there's a relationship with a man and woman that they can be in, and you mentioned boredom. There's no such thing as boredom. We can be the relationship, perfect relationship with for me is that I may not have to say anything. She may not have to say anything, and we don't have to look for words to find to say. Oh, good, I'm good. One of the things I saw it on social media where this young man and this young woman, he set up a date for his girlfriend, and so he put the camera in the car and says, "Look, let me see what she's gonna say." And so she came into the car. As she was in the car, you probably saw
Yeah, I saw this.
right? And she said, "Man, God, she's good. She's pretty. She's excellent. Look at her. She looks so cute." So she gets into the car, slammed the door, and he says, "Honey, I'm not going anywhere today. I don't feel like I changed my mind. We're not going out anymore." She just look and says, "Honey, that's fine with me. Um, we can stay home, honey. I'm good. Whatever you want, I'm good." And that's because their relationship doesn't depend on other things. Because it depends on the spirit within. You're dialing into her spirit. She's dialing into your spirit. Both parties are open to each other, and so whatever he says or whatever she says is all good. And we don't have to fancy up these words or try to, at my time rapping. No, let the spirit talk to each other. And it may say that day, you don't have to say anything. You're good. She's good. Lay in bed, relax, put on some music, whatever it may be, or not say anything. We're all good. That's because spirits recognize each other and it's all good. But anyway, let me regress because I need to. Catherine, because I can.
Oh, well, what came up for me was a lot of the complications that we experience in our relationships with regard to love is not actually taking the time to get to know the person that you're engaging with. And people usually put their best foot forward in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to engage in certain behaviors in the beginning that might seem attractive and hide other behaviors that may not be. And I think that we would benefit from giving more space to that getting acquainted stage before the expectation that whatever it is that you're doing is actually love, because it may just be attraction. It may be something social, I'm getting old, I want to get married, the kind of thing. For women, we have to consider, if we're going to have children, we need to make that relationship early enough to be able to bear children. So I just think that the loss of that space of courtship needs to be retrieved. And I don't mean it from the perspective of people just have to wait. I'm just saying that understand that it's going to take a while before you actually get to know the person you're with in truth. And if you give yourself that space, then you can begin to navigate if it's really working, if it's a real relationship, if you're actually fulfilling each other in ways deeper than just the initial attraction. I really believe you have to get beyond the initial attraction to discover if there's really love in that relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
that takes time and experience. But if we can put that thought back into our process, our minds, our thoughts, then we wouldn't be making so quickly the permanent, semi permanent relationships, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You could always get out of a relationship, but really build it. It's like building a house. What kind of foundation do you get together? Do you enjoy reading together, or do you enjoy movies together? Or, is there enough coherence in that relationship for it to be something that would be long lasting? And I think that's something we have to figure out for ourselves. We may still want to do it, even though, well, this isn't going to last, but it's fun, right? So, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying, but if you really want something lasting, you have to give it the space to build and cultivate. And you learn about each other and you see how your partner is when they're stressed out. You see how much they can tolerate your being stressed out. And you sort of build bit by bit to having the kind of relationship that would be more solid and long lasting. So I think love is important, but also all these tangential issues are also important.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I agree. We lost Pernue. I don't know what happened. I guess he's going to come back in a couple of minutes. But it's so funny because, Catherine, you're talking about courting, which is something that was done years ago. And what I'm seeing in today's society, in this relationship, people going on the first date and they're sexually active on the first date, and they haven't taken the time to, like you said, build a connection and seeing if that person has the same morals, the same values. Are they operating with integrity? We just have a tendency, welcome back, Pernue, to jump into these relationships without, getting to know one another to see if we're even a match. And a lot of times, women are looking for security, and it could be financial security. So, they, or maybe they're looking for the best looking man, and so you can find that these men who have the most money, or is projected or seen as the men who have a lot of money, or the men who are good looking, they end up juggling multiple women with no intentions of committing to any of them at all. And so what happens is that these women become misled, misguided, misunderstood, hurt, and overall at a certain amount of time they realize it's not going to work with that man because he has no intentions on committing to her or really being with her in terms of building a true connection and a family or a legacy or anything like that. And so she begins to move on to the next one. And who knows if that's another man who is very good looking or a man with a lot of money, because she hasn't learned yet to withhold that energy that she has and sit back and observe that man to say, you know what, is this really going to work out? Is he going to be the right person for me? Are we even in alignment prior to us exchanging sexual energy and mixing our ancestors together? Because I don't even know what he has attached to him, and he doesn't know what she has attached to him. And so he could be having intercourse with 4 or 5 women per month, and maybe she may even get to the point where she was like, you know what, I'm just going to go have intercourse with 2 men or whatever. So now potentially that is, if he's having intercourse with 5 women per month and she's having intercourse with 2 men, that's potentially how many people having intercourse? That's 9 people. That's 9 energies. That is 9 ancestors mixing together. And so you wonder why we are chaotic and angry and just bugging out. Just straight up just bugging out, because we're not taking the time to see if we even are a match for each other. So
even know what a match looks like? That's the question I have, because if we have these certain criterias, we base our self-worth off of getting this idea of what the ideal person is. So it's like, okay, my ideal person, she has to have a big butt, you know, if that's my ideal person and I'm making that the deal breaker, then on all types of women who actually could be a benefit to my life. And I think sometimes we're looking for things to brag on our friends with. Both men and women do that. And so it might not be something that's good for me, but I know that other people will be like, oh, wow, look what you got on your arm. And that's going to make me feel good. Even though I go home and I have hell at home. So we have to but if I feel good enough about myself that I'm not trying to impress all these other people, then I'm going to make better choices. I'm going to actually really more care about peace and self-respect and things like that, as opposed to, oh, I got a bad beat, or whatever, So we have to start looking at really what is important, and to realize that we are one of the principles in the spiritual teachings that I partake in is that we learn that joy is something that resides within us. And so, as opposed to looking for someone else to make me joyful, I want to be joyful already, and then share that joy with someone else who has joy. And then with that, we're both joyful people, as opposed to looking for someone else to make. So now I'm putting the burden on someone else to make me joyful, to make me laugh. All these, we have a whole list of things that this other person has to make us feel like. I would say the only thing that maybe we should, the other person make us feel, we should feel loved by that person. We should feel respected. But that's also based off of us loving and respecting ourselves.
Correct.
Right. Back to self-love.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not waiting for validations from anyone.
Yeah.
Come from within. And when I realized that God was within, not outside of me, that made a whole difference to me. The God within.
Yeah. I want to say, so when a person, so say when a man is with a good looking woman or a woman on his arm, and a woman is with a good looking man or a man who is wealthy, that's playing into that ego, that's that ego that, a lot of us have difficulty taming that ego. And so we have to learn that ego may be leading us up the wrong path. And when that ego is activated, how to just tame it down and say, okay, is this ego leading me in the right direction and putting me in the right situation? Because I've seen some women with very good looking men and yeah, they out in the street and like you said, same thing, some men with some good looking, and when they get home, woo, it is hell to tell the captain in that household. And so only the person who's around that couple all the time would know exactly what's going on. And they would be like, oh my goodness, you would think on the outside they have the perfect relationship. But when you in there, you see she's slamming doors and breaking dishes and cursing him out, and he's walking out and he's doing like it's chaos and mayhem. And so on the outside, huh?
Is that ugly or is it beautiful or pretty?
Oh my goodness, that is the ugliest thing you could ever. And it's a lot of people out here who are in these situations, So at what point do you recognize and realize that you're in an unhealthy relationship as opposed to in a loving, nurturing relationship just because you want to be with someone who has a lot of money or good looks? Is it even worth your time and your energy that they're pulling from you and you're pulling from each other? Is it even worth it? It's draining, and it's emotionally draining, mentally draining, it's just completely draining.
Yeah, beauty, that fades for men and women. And so it's about the beauty that's within that person that never will fade, that comes with them from the cosmos. And that's the most beautiful energy that one can be connected with. The energy of the love, the in love, the energy that allows them to see beyond those measures that's in front of them. You could be with an ugly person, ugly guy, ugly woman, whatever it may be, but it goes beyond that. It goes, it's the love with that person has within them that vibrates, that hits me at an angle that I have to receive. And so we can't just go on the magazines. I want this woman to look this way, curves that way. No, it's not about that. To me, that's low vibration. That's
Yes.
low vibration.
Oh wow! It's so funny. I saw someone write a joke, and they said, wealthy men prefer small-breasted women, and poor men, low-value men, expect these women to have these big breasts and these big fake butts. And I was just like, what? And then I started to look at a lot of the wealthy men, like, and I'm talking about basketball players and actors and superstars. I'm talking about men who are wealthy and you don't know they're wealthy. They're professionals, they're business guys, and you look at their wives, they look like regular women. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And a lot of these men who are functioning from a lower level, they're looking at all of the exterior that a woman has to offer, and not necessarily what she bringing to the table other than her physical body. You know what I'm saying? So
that speaks that we're not really fully in touch with our energy body. We're not in touch with our energy. We're not cultivating our energy properly to go out and seek what is best for us. And our energy body actually creates our physical body. It informs our physical body as well. So if we're on a low vibration, then the energy body is going to attract low energy vibrational people, as opposed to, okay, I'm looking for that best energy. I'm going to see past the physical. Yeah, I don't even see the physical. And we kind of learn that when we do energy work.
yes,
We're trained, we do energy work, we're not looking at the physical anymore. When we do transfer energy, we don't look at the physical. We are connecting to the energy. And when once you connect to that energy, then you're able to tap into all types of beauty, pleasure, and joy and peace. Both of the when the energies are connecting properly. But if we're just solely looking at the physicality, and we're not even really paying attention to quote unquote energy or things like that, then we don't even care. We're not even looking at a connection. We're looking at as you said, dude, we're looking at the lowest vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And the lowest vibration is the physical.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why they gives us, magazines and newspaper. They tell us who is beautiful in this society.
Yes.
All right, but is it beautiful? Really? Let me pick for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Mm-hmm.
me observe for myself. And like my brother's saying, we check out the energy. What's the energy? That energy that the woman has. Does it connect with me? Can I reflect off that energy? And a lot of times, if we have a good person in our life that we can reflect on, yeah, reflection. When I look into a woman's eye, right, and I can see myself in her eye, the way she's looking at me, that's a good reflection, and be able to understand her energy. So anyway, that's how I feel, Catherine.
Well, what came up for me is I was remembering my youngest brother. I grew up with three brothers, and my youngest brother got attached very well. They all did pretty early, but the youngest one got in a relationship. He was very young. He ended up joining the Navy, but he also ended up getting his girlfriend pregnant. And she seemed like a nice enough person. She was young also. And I asked her, well, what was it that attracted you? And what she said to me was that, well, your brother was the first time that anybody ever listened to me. And I thought that was, on one sense, it was kind of sweet, but in another sense, it was kind of tragic that this young woman grew up in whatever her life was, never feeling that she had the kind of attention and love that she needed. And so, therefore, um, she reached out and grabbed onto the first person who came along who could give her that attention and that reflection back, as you were talking about, Duke, that she had never experienced before. And so I think that there's a way that we all have to understand what it is that we are needing, so that as we meet people, we could say, well, I actually, or maybe you're a person that needs somebody to hold you and just be kind and gentle. Maybe you're a person who needs to be heard. Maybe you're a person who's connected to creativity, or maybe you're connected to touch. Whatever it is, I just feel that we have to, just like we need that time to assess the quality of our relationships, we need to take at least an equal measure of time to understand exactly what we need or what we want, and not let it be about, oh, all of my friends at school have boyfriends, so I have to have one. Or all of the girls in the projects have babies, so I have to have one. And really think about, try to create space for people to really think about who they are and what they need. So maybe as we engage in these relationships looking for love, that we can begin to explore that in the other person as well. Well, what what did you need as a child that you think you didn't get? or what were your dreams that you hope to realize, and begin to have conversations that are deeper than the sort of the attraction that might be there, which could happen, energetically, physiologically, but have nothing to do with who the two people are. You could still have an attraction.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't follow that, but to understand that they need that period of exploration to know if that's something that could work for them, I think.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. Someone just asked about this particular topic, guys, and I'm gonna leave that little dash in between that other word there. And yeah, they inquired about this type of energy. So it's normally you'll see it like this typed up when you see it somewhere. It won't be the full word. So it's like BD energy. So I think this kind of became popular with a famous person. Who was the
There's
woman
a
with Kanye West?
there's a rap. There's some raps where they talking about that BD energy.
Yeah, but
Kim Kardashian.
yeah, yes, that's what I was thinking about. So
Yeah.
the first time I heard BD energy was Kim Kardashian,
Okay.
and,
That's right.
she's the ex-wife of Kanye West, and I think she was with some other guy. And
Yeah.
after she divorced Kanye West, she was dating another guy, and she was saying this particular guy had BD energy, and I was like, "What is that? Bad energy?" She just took out the A in between bad, and I had to go and find out what BD. I didn't know, and I was like, I had to go and find out what BD energy is. Now, again, so this is the woman looking for a man with this type of energy. So it's not necessarily the money, it's not necessarily the looks. It's attracted to the physicality, that particular part of his body, and what else is there to discuss? Because to be honest with you, that relationship she had with that guy after Kanye West, it didn't last. So
Yes.
when a woman is looking for a man with BD energy, I guess this is a temporary relationship. Like, she doesn't necessarily expect this to last. So maybe she's looking for, okay, I'm just going to have a fling with this particular guy. This is something that I want to experience. And the other thing is it energy, or is it the physical thing that they're talking about? So I don't know if you want to break
So
that down.
that's the question I have. I guess my question is, because so Master Yao, he talks about something called the auric penis, or the energetic penis. So you, as opposed to the physical, and so the women can feel the auric penis before they actually feel the physical penis. With someone's clothes on. Oh, can I speak on this, or is this too
No.
much?
I just want to just see that Duke is taking notes. So
Yeah. So so we have the auric. So the auric penis.
Go ahead.
And so the auric penis is related to the physical penis. Now, the auric penis has a lot to do with like confidence and things like that. And so what women actually don't realize is that women actually create BD energy for men. So the more women a man gets, the more his auric penis grows, or the more his BD energy grows. And so he has this confidence. So then he gets more and more women because he has more of this energy. But the thing is, women don't realize they're the ones that create that energy in the man. So they can get a man and help him build that energy up. So and that goes back to the epigenetics. That goes back to the fact that, hey, we can change each other. But when everyone starts to look for, okay, for the ready-made person, as opposed to, hey, let me build with somebody, and we can build each other up, and that can be a more stable relationship. It's like, if you meet someone and both of you all are kind of poor, and you all get together and you all build each other up together, and you then become wealthy. That's a more stable, trusting relationship than someone who, I'm a millionaire now, I just pick someone. I just don't. Hey, I know that they're just for my money. It's a more of a, that's a transactional relationship there, as opposed to, we built it together. We built each other. We grew together. So I think that we don't realize really the effect we have on being able to co-create each other in these relationships.
Wow. Well, this is the first time I've ever heard of it. Okay. So I'm just old. All right. Neither do I really pay attention to the Kardashians or that level of social media. And the first thing that came to my mind is probably not very politically correct. But I'm thinking, is this like a white-black thing? Is this like a thing? And maybe the B stands for black.
Yeah.
That's what came to my mind. Maybe it's not, but from my vantage point, I won't say that size doesn't matter. It does. But sensitivity matters more to me. So it's an entirely foreign concept to me. Interesting. But I really like what you were saying about it, Pranu, because you put it into a context I could understand. So thank you for that.
I wanna kind of bed you back, and I'm gonna do a solo study. I'm gonna use a pen so you guys can get a better idea. So in a relationship, when you're truly genuinely working with someone that you really care about and you really love, and so again, we're working with each other's egos, and if a man feels like he's not satisfying you, then you can also assist him with that. So let's say this is him. I hope you guys can see the pen. So you can actually assist him. This is the length. You could assist him with extending that length further. So, and this is just the energy that you're assisting him with, extending and projecting. So besides extending that with the length, right? So we are also going to talk about girth. So this is him, but you could assist him with the girth, which is spreading him and making him a little bit larger for you, so that you are you're having a sort of a satisfying experience. So you could assist him with the length and the girth via projecting, allowing him and helping him with projecting that energy while he's inside of you. So yeah, and you could feel this. I want to give a shout out to another brother who recently did a shroom journey, and he gave me a phone call, and he was like, "Yo, Bliss, like, is it possible that I could make myself, my BD larger?" And I was like, absolutely. He was like, so he did it by accident. And he was like, "What's going on? Like, I don't know what happened." And I was like, yes, it certainly is possible. And this is on a shroom journey that he was able to do this. And I think when he wasn't under the psychedelics, maybe he kind of like lacked confidence in that particular field of that area. But under the psychedelics, at times you feel like Superwoman or Superman, or like you can just do anything. And so he was able to project via length and also in girth. So I just wanted to kind of assist you guys with that. So it's more of a visual, so that you can get a visual aspect from that and get an idea what we're talking about here. So there you go.
I just wanted to say this, and I learned it late, that energy is everything. Every energy is everything. So you find a woman and your energy and her, it match, right? And so at the end of the day, what I was told, what I found out later, that you and that relationship can become multi-millionaires as they are making love to one another, and the energy is getting to its peak. You calling out those things that you may want, the girth, the length, the you may just want to talk about the finances, you know. So once you're in a relationship that both parties and their energy match each other, they can create the entire world. They can create whatever they want because they can speak it out to the ether, into the universe. Just because it is something that, and they say it all the time. Um, we talk about mouth. You speak things into existence. Right? Whatever you say out of your mouth, you speak it into existence. So, imagine you having a mate that both of you are in the um, same frequency, and both of you agreed that this is what we need to have a relationship to go further. And so you agree with her, and then you produce it by speaking it out into existence, either sexually or verbally. And these things do work as energy, all energy. That's what I wanted to share that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So we got on the topic of energy, and love is also an energy, and it's a frequency. So this is all included with the topic of love. So I wanted to go a little bit further in when you're in a relationship with someone. So when you're in a relationship with someone and you genuinely truly care about them, and you love them, it requires a lot of tolerance, respect is big in relationship. Patience. Let's be real. Relationships are not easy, and like I said, we're talking about all different types of relationships, with family, with jobs, with your lovers and your siblings. And you have to accept that the other person may not be perfect. They have flaws, they have weaknesses, they have imperfections. Let's be honest, none of us are perfect here in this world right now. So you're going to have disappointments. Sometimes they could be a pain in the butt, or they could be irritating you, or you could be irritating them. And at times you may have moments of doubt in those relationships. So perfection doesn't exist in a relationship. The real question is, if you're in a relationship and it's a serious relationship and you're pursuing it, or you have children, or you're married, the real question is, are you willing to go through the ups and the downs in that relationship? Are you going to be communicating openly and honestly in that relationship, which is difficult for a lot of people to communicate openly and honestly, for fear of judgment or fear of losing that person. So seeing beyond the arguments and the ego, and learning how to forgive and how to grow, respecting one another. And that's without the sort of, like, the gaslighting and the bullying and the manipulation, the lying and the cheating, all those other things. Learning to basically get down to it, and sitting down face to face, one on one, and dealing with whatever situation via emotions, or trauma that you may be, bringing into that relationship, knowingly and unknowingly, and making a choice to whether you're going to stay and fight for that relationship, and deepen that bond to build something strong, and be willing to experience unity via the heart, via truly activating that love energy, that love frequency. You have to make the choice to stay in love. And the reality is the work that you have to put into these relationships, no matter what type of relationship you're in, it requires work. It requires work. So you guys want to kind of just speak about that?
Yeah. Well, I can speak. So, in ancient Egypt, one of the words for love was this word called myrrh, and it's actually symbol. Its symbol was like the plow, and it was the idea that love requires work. Love requires effort, and so you have to put in the effort if you want to get anything worthwhile in this world to maintain. I mean, sometimes something good may just fall into your lap. You might think that, but to maintain it is going to require effort. Or you might think it fell into your lap just out of the blue, but you may have done work, or somebody else did the work to prepare that thing to fall in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
So relationships challenge us. They challenge us on the deepest levels. They are our mirror. So if we look at it, we have a relationship, and what we see is not what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
That means we have to do work on ourselves.
Mm.
Shadow
work.
Yeah, exactly. Shadow work. Even if you determine, this other person was wrong, you still have to work yourself. Why did I attract that?
Yes.
What was the match? How did my stuff connect to their stuff? And now we're fighting, or now we're not happy. So I have to do work. So I can never leave a relationship and say, "Oh, it was all that person's fault," because I attracted it, and that requires work. And it's not the work of, I'm not gonna date a Leo no more. I'm not gonna, some people.
I said that, Purdue. I was certain signs. I was like, I ain't messing with them damn signs no more. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it was just certain zodiac signs. I was just like, all of them. I was throwing them all in the box. I was like, they're all crazy. Like, what? I'm not messing with those people anymore. But you're right. You're right.
So we can attract the right person for us, and by changing ourselves, and loving ourselves.
It's true. I agree. So with that being said, for me, one of the things as I was listening to you, Purdue, what came up in my mind, in my imagination, is forgiveness. To me, that is an anchor. And, we talk about wanting forgiveness, right? But we have to be able to forgive the other person as well. The other person may be going through a bad day, going through a bad season. And if I'm not able to forgive, then I'm not able to receive forgiveness. Time. So I want to receive that wealth. I want to receive the grace. But if I can't give grace to somebody else, then why am I looking for grace? It makes no sense to me. If I am in debt and somebody's forgiving me of my debt, why can't I forgive somebody of the debt? And so when we're in a relationship, I got flaws of my own that I know, right? And so in a relationship, it's two parties in the relationship, and whatever flaws that she may bring in a relationship, I have to be able to forgive that. I have to be able to forgive. And she has to be able to forgive. Because it's two energies that's in a room now. It's like when you have two boxes in a ring, it's just energies in the ring. Who has the most energy? And so when we're really cognizant of who we are when we're in that room together, and we're able to forgive each other and able to understand each other, we grow from level to level. We vibrate from one level to the next level, and then we're able now to receive that whatever condition that person's in, whatever condition that I'm in. We're able to now talk about it. But for me, forgiveness, if I cannot forgive, then I can't receive. And that goes with anything. And
Mhm.
hoping that it goes with her too. If she can't forgive me of my low vibration that day, or forgive me or of not saying, oh, I forgot the birthday, or I didn't do this, I didn't do that, then we're operating on a low vibration. And do we want that? No, we don't want that. But we do it from time to time, even with people that we don't necessarily want to be with or be around with, our friends or whatever it may be. We do that, but we have to find a medium ground of love, acceptance, forgiveness, and understand what it means to all of us. And I have to understand what it means to my partner. I wanted to insert into the conversation. That
Go ahead, Pernell.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, no, I was just thinking that all of this is really important. All these relationship questions, but a lot of that can be resolved by allowing ourselves to have a relationship with love.
yeah, yeah,
For us to understand our individual relationship with love in terms of the people in our lives. Like I've loved and do continue to love a lot of family members that I don't actually like.
Hmm.
And I think it's not because it's just what it is. Some people just don't have a resonance. You don't have a resonance with each other. I mean, they're living their lives very happy, and I'm living my life in what measure of happiness I can create in my own life. But there are people that I truly, truly love that I just don't get along with. And I think that that gives us an opportunity to look at what love is
Hmm.
separate from any individual relationship. And we can begin to cultivate our relationship with love and start that relationship, loving relationship. I think it's really important to have that with yourself.
mhm,
And as Duke was saying, our words are very powerful, our thoughts are very powerful. And it's important to pay attention to what it is that we're thinking about ourselves and about other people. And just begin to understand the dynamic of what we're capable of in terms of loving someone. So I've had relationships with people that I absolutely loved, but knew very well that we weren't a good match. And pursued those relationships and went through with them and went through to completion, some of them lasting very long. Or I just knew it wasn't a match, in terms of way of thinking, way of being. But in my understanding that it wasn't a perfect match, it almost made it perfect because I wasn't trying to make it match.
Hmm.
I
No
was
expectations.
I was just letting the person be who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, when you let someone else be who they are, you can take ownership of who you are and not live your life according to another person's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can respect yourself enough and respect the other person enough, appreciate both what's good and bad, I think you can have a very healthy or rewarding relationship if there's enough room in there
Mm-hmm.
for you to be real about it and not pretend or not to project, and maybe even to just allow it to be an adventure,
Yeah.
and don't think that all all relationships, and just allow it to be what it is. It might end up to be so much more than you ever anticipated by allowing that freedom within the context of our relationships. And this works in intimacy, but also in friendship and partnership. You just have to love a person for who they are. If you can't love them for who they truly are, then it's not love.
Right.
Wow. I was just, I mean, even before you said those things, I was thinking, you kind of said what I was thinking, but in more in depth, because I was thinking about acceptance. And I was also thinking about this idea. I think someone mentioned that if you can get 80% of what you want, don't don't sink the relationship. People ruin the relationship going for this other 20%. Well, the 20% might be, you know, how much money you make, or the person has all these other things that are right, but it's these few things that you really wanted that might even be the ego or what have you, or it could be that they leave their socks on the floor or things like that. And you're a clean person, and so if we can accept each other to an extent, we can still have a good relationship if we're not trying to always force. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's just allow people to be who they are, and if we can love people however they are, then I believe that that gives us the best chance for having a successful long term experience with that person, because we're not requiring that they change into something they're not.
Yeah,
And if,
and if so,
and if what they are is not to your standing, then don't do it.
yeah,
Don't waste that person's time bringing them into a relationship in which you feel like they need to be somebody else. Just go look for that other thing and let
Yes.
people
yeah,
go on with their lives, instead of, we have these situations where, for our own fulfillment or whatever the ego need might be, or whether it's you need attention,
Mm-hmm.
we just can't trap people in those situations and then berate them for not meeting our expectations.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Absolutely. 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 I want to say welcome to 10 Million Yearwood. Yes. Thank you. Peace, peace. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I want to close out with saying that moving forward in relationships, we need to hold ourselves accountable. And obviously, we need to hold the other party accountable, especially when we're setting boundaries and holding ourselves accountable with, like we were talking about, like we can't go into a relationship with certain expectations or trying to change someone to who we want them to be, and simply taking the time to getting to know that person and knowing if their morals and values align with you, if they're operating with integrity, and they're genuinely showing you love, and they care about you, and they're interested in working on a relationship with you and building a strong bond and a deep connection. So, and to be honest with you, we all make mistakes, and at times we all make people suffer or cry, or there's been situations where you may have tried to make someone feel small or stupid or incompetent. And in all honesty, we didn't learn relationship techniques. So we're not really skillful in those relationship techniques because it wasn't taught to us. So we're sort of learning by trial and error or observation via what we see other people do. So consider, if you are in a good relationship, consider starting anew and in healing and working through that process and healing that relationship, processing your emotions and working through them. If you have to apologize, genuinely don't, apologize from your heart. Like we have this thing where, and I guess I would say I've seen more men do it, where they do something wrong or they feel like they've done something wrong. they immediately think, oh, I need to apologize. You find that the apology is not genuine and it's not from the heart, especially if they didn't do anything wrong. Then why are you apologizing? So I want to say definitely try to work more from your heart space. And if you're the person who needs work, then keeping your word and being a better person, like really going in and doing the shadow work. And I want to say that when you're doing shadow work, it's not easy. It's a journey. It kicks up and works up a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, but it is necessary if you truly want to have a really good relationship with someone, if you're looking for that deep bond and that great connection. So hold yourself accountable in the role that you played in this relationship. And if you are bullshitting, stop the bullshit. If you're playing the victim, then realize why are you playing the victim or the villain. And if you're blaming someone else, then why haven't you sit back and looked at a different perspective as to why that blame is going on? And if you're playing games, then just simply stop playing games. Like, we at some point we need to be mature adults regarding relationships. And what I'm seeing right now is a lot of immaturity. And I mean on levels of seeing people who are 40, 50, 60 years old who are acting like they're teenagers. That is a level of immaturity that I never thought I would even ever see. So moving forward, I want you to entertain these ideas, and I want, Prenu and Catherine and Duke to make some suggestions for you guys moving forward before we close out.
Go ahead.
As you were talking, I was thinking about it, and I think what's really important for all of us is to understand what we've been kind of saying. Love is an energy and a vibration. It exists in the world, whether we choose to access it or not. And part of being able to be in loving relationships is to be able to be in love with yourself, to be in love with life, to look at your life to see if you're not fulfilling those things that will bring satisfaction and peace of mind and happiness, so that we understand that love is something we can all access whether we have a partner or not. We can live in a loving state. And when we can do that, we're more likely to attract an appropriate partner.
Yes.
That's going to feel that attraction of love in your heart and is willing to give it back.
Thank you.
Shay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I kind of echo on what you said. Love is the energy.
Mm.
We have to learn how to cultivate that energy within ourselves. Learn the practices, learn the thoughts, to have the loving thoughts, to cultivate that within our being, to cultivate that motherly energy, reassuring energy, and to balance that with the loving masculine as well, that can hold things into accountability and to balance those two things. So you're not too permissive and you're not too harsh and judgmental. That balance.
Yeah, and I would say that men have a lot of that mother energy too.
Yeah, I said masculine and feminine, so it's not necessarily a man and woman thing. It's those different energies, and to balance those energies, and we can and one person can balance them within themselves.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I just want to thank you, Ms. Bliss, for having me here, giving me the opportunity to express these things and to talk about love, because it's so important.
Yes.
And I would like us to continue in future conversations to talk about the cultivation aspects of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Excellent.
you.
I agree. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us. I want one of you because I do it from time to time. What what comes to me is shadow work with oneself, in a relationship, and I would like for someone to explain what is shadow work, because a lot of our viewers may not know it, but I would like for someone to explain it. Pranu?
Okay, so shadow work, as you say, shadow means dark, unseen. So there is a part of our being that is unseen even to ourselves. I would say 90% of our being is in the shadows and we don't see it. We only see what bubbles to the surface. And then when we explain, oftentimes when we explain why we did something, we're not really explaining why we did it. We don't even know why we did it. We come up with an explanation after we did it. But that might be not be even the true reason why we actually did it. The true reason is in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And so shadow work is, you can look at it as into the shadows of who we are and shining light and bringing those things to our conscious awareness. Bringing things to our awareness so that we can work on them. Bringing things to our awareness so we can fix them. These are in the shadows, sometimes due to trauma. Trauma will affect our lives. We don't even remember it. And there's a part of our brain that is actually suppressing that from coming to the surface. So when your brain, your mind is constantly suppressing that, that's a lot of energy and resources your mind is taking to suppress something. Those resources can be used to your better development. Now, maybe at the time that happened, the trauma happened, we could not be able to handle that experience. So we put it deep down.
Mm-hmm.
But as adults, now it's time to parent ourselves. Taking those injuries that happen in the shadows, that inner child that is still in the shadows, that's still there, and reparenting that child.
Correct.
Being the parent, being the mother and the father to that child within our being. I was talking with my daughter the other day. She does shadow work.
Mm.
And so this is another thing I was talking about. I started doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't talk to her about it, and she started doing it on her own.
Right.
So she was talking about how, I guess, waking up and things like that, or whatever it was that she was trying to do. She had to have that mother energy to her child and tell her child, I'm with you.
Mm.
You're not alone.
Yes.
And that's something that I do as well. Okay, I'm going to hold your hand as we do this.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is scary.
Yes.
I know this is scary. I know this is hurtful. You doing this, I know this is uncomfortable. We have to do it. Let me hold your hand. As opposed to how I used to do things was force myself to do it. I'm going to take this hard line approach. Yeah, I got this bad habit or this thing. I'm just going to force it and beat myself up until I do it. That never works.
No.
There's a rebellion that happens.
It's a rebellion, yeah. And it's kind of like abusing yourself, Pranu.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing? Be gentle with yourself.
Exactly. So I had to learn how to mother myself.
Yeah.
Mother and be gentle. Good to go into the shadows. And so I learned that by doing shadow work. That was a part of my shadow work. Learning I have to mother myself, mother that inner child, or love that, or be the loving father, being that love. I have to love that child.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say this before I forget it, that a lot of people don't understand what is shadow work, and you know, one may fear something and don't know why they fear it.
Mhm.
And so you have to go back in time and try to dig down and understand, why am I fearing this?
Mhm.
Somebody may be going through a relationship that they fear. And shadow work is very important to understand what it is, and then try to repair it, try to fix it, try to turn it around. But we don't know why I'm fearing this uh, issue, why I feel this way. And this is coming through, maybe coming through a parent, maybe coming through something that we um, that we experienced and we don't want to talk about. And we just bury it, but we have to uncover it, bring it to the surface. You got to fix it. That's a part of shadow work, knowing thyself. As you know thyself, right? Then you know
Yes.
God, then you know the God that's within you, the Most High that's within you. Knowing thyself is very important, and that means to know thy shadow, who you will be. And I always say this to people. I says, if I'm in a foxhole and we're at war, I'm not going to leave you in that foxhole alone. But then you'll have some people that they want to leave. They feel that in order to be safe and be not a target, they got to run, got to get out of there. You don't want to be in a foxhole with somebody that, because once they leave, anything can happen. But you want to be in a foxhole with someone that has done their part, that understands what it is that they're facing. And so shadow work, again, is very important to a relationship. Very important to a relationship. And that's for the individual to do their own shadow work. The man and the female, they have to do their own shadow work. Period.
Yes, thank you, Yoli Tour, whose comment is projecting insecurities and expecting the woman to resolve it. It's that part. Women go through many changes, and she is expected to fix herself. Woo! Yes, thank you so much, Yoli, for your comment. Catherine, do you want to kind of veggie back on that before we close out? Because we get
Well, I would say that it is our responsibility to fix ourselves if there is fixing that's needed. But I understand this comment as having to carry so much, and I think that this is true of women. We have to carry so much, the family, the children, the spouse, the in-laws. Women tend to carry a big part of that in relationships. But ultimately it's our choice, I would say. And like what was say like earlier said, we have to set our own boundaries.
Hmm.
Women need to be sovereign, just like men need to be sovereign. And then we can have two adult, responsible people coming together. But too often, because of our historical situation in this country, women have really carried a big part of that load of putting themselves aside so that the children, so that the spouse, the husband can survive, working at home and working at work. So women have carried a very, very heavy load, I believe. And it may just be time for us to put ourselves at the front of the line
yes.
and make sure that we are caring well for ourselves, so that if we choose to resolve other issues and carry other issues, we won't continuously be broken down. And to me, that's the biggest problem, is that we are just exhausted and broken. And it
Yes.
comes through the epigenetics as well,
Yes.
It's true.
of carrying this weight in this particular culture, where men were more degraded by the culture because they were perceived as being threatening or dangerous. So Black women could go and prosper where Black men could not for many generations.
Mm-hmm.
But that always was being done to preserve the family, to take care of the children.
Thank you.
And I think that what happens is that out of that rises a level of resentment and
Yes.
tension between men and women in culture such as ours, where men need to be also uplifted to a point,
Yes.
but it's not entirely our responsibility. Men have to take care of their own needs in terms of their psychological, emotional, spiritual, as much as we do. And if children are going to thrive, we both, men and women, have to participate in that
Exactly.
process, even if it's not
Yes.
our children.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a lot of children in need of guidance and leadership,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of grown-ups in need of guidance and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all have something to contribute to that. We just have to find it within ourselves. What is my calling? What am I bringing?
Exactly.
Let me nurture that.
Exactly.
Before you start saving something outside of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
save yourself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you so much, Catherine, because we get ready to close out, but that kind of went into that whole Kevin Samuels dynamic where he advises men to not date women who have children. And I like what you said about it's okay to date another person who has children, because if it's okay for you to date a man who has children, and then some of them have multiple children from multiple different women, then it's certainly okay for a man to date a woman who has children, even if she has children from multiple men, because it's all about the vibration you feel in that relationship and the love and nurturing care that you guys are providing with one another. So if you can assist with that relationship and building that union and that bond between that man and that woman, then what does it have to do about the children? Because you're raising those children together. Those children are not necessarily 30 years old, because at that point, 25, 20, 25, they already out the house. So we potentially talk about children who are 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12. Come on. Really? These are children that you can guide and you could assist with guiding them. So yeah. Oh, you're welcome so much. You're welcome.
You are.
Thank you for being with us.
We're going to go shortly, but you said something very important, very paramount. Is balance. They have to be balanced within the relationship, where everybody is on the same on the same platform, and it has to be balanced in that relationship with the children. No matter for the man's side or for the woman's side, they have to be balanced.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's
so
what
we gonna close out. I've been trying to close out for but we could definitely do a part 2 and about love and relationships, because I think there may be some more that we want to speak about, and maybe we can go further with giving more advice on and some suggestions on how to deal with certain relationships or certain situations that you're in your relationship. So I want to bid you all good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I want to say thank you to Catherine, to Duke, and Pernue. And I am extremely grateful for the audience. I appreciate you guys, and have a beautiful, beautiful night.
All right. Thank you.
Ashe.
Ashe.